Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Na Tvadrishim Pranayanam Grihanim Griheshu Pashyami Manini Yaya Sva Nivaha Kale Praptan Nipan Naviganaya Raha Hara Me Prastapita Dvija Upashruta Sat Katasya Natvadrishim Pranayanim Grihinim Griheshu Pashyami Manini Yaya Svavivaha Kale Praptan Nipanna Viganaya Raho Harume Prastapito Dvija Upashruta Satkatasya Natvadrishim Pranayanim Grihinim Griheshu Pashyami Manini Yaya Swamiha Kale Praptan Nipanna Viganaya Rahu Harume Prastapito Dvija Upashruta Satkatasya Natvadrishim Pranayanim Grihinim Griheshu Pashyami Yaya Svavivaha Kale Praptan Nipanna Viganaya Raho Harume Prastapito Dvija Upashruta Satkatasya Satkatasya Vaishnavis. Usthapito Dvija Upashruta Satkatasya. One more. Natwadishim Panayanim Riyanim Reshu. Not Tvadrishim, like you, Pranayanim, loving, Grihinim, wife, in my residences, Pashyami, do I see, Manini, oh, respectful one. Yaya, by whom? Sva, of her own. Vivaha, marriage. Vivaha. Kale, at the time. Praptan, arrived. Nipan, kings. Na Viganaya, disregarding. Raha, a confidential message. Hara, the carrier. Me, to me. Prastapita, sent. Dvija, a Brahman. Upashruta, overheard. Sat, true. Katasya, narrations about whom. Translation. In all my palaces, I can find no other wife as loving as you. O most respectful one. When you were to be married, you disregarded all the kings who had assembled to seek your hand, and simply because you had heard authentic accounts concerning me, you sent a Brahmin to me with your confidential message. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminite Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschyata Desatarine Natvadishim Prapanninim Yanim Grihinim Griheshu. So Krishna has 16,108 griheshus, or palaces. And he says that he does not find another loving wife like Rukmini in those residences. She's the most loving, pranayanim, grihinim, a loving wife. But what were the other 16,107 wives thinking? They thought, Krishna is constantly staying in my palace. Each wife constantly had Krishna's association in her palace because he expanded himself into 16,108 husbands. So each wife was thinking that I must be his favorite because he's always staying with me. But they didn't understand the full truth about Krishna. That he had expanded into so many other husbands. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva don't fully understand the truth about Krishna because they find it difficult to know Krishna fully. Yet somehow, even if the wives didn't fully understand Krishna, they had obtained him as their husband. So they always wanted his association. And thus, they performed menial services to Krishna, which could have been done by the many, many maidservants in the palace. But they wanted to do the menial services because they wanted Krishna's association constantly. So even though Krishna had so many wives paying so much attention to him, he still is emphasizing the glories of Sri Rukmini in these verses. Natvadushim pranayanim grihinim griheshu. You're the most loving wife that I find in all my palaces. And he calls attention to how they got married. Rukmini had many suitors, kings, who arrived to seek her hand. But she sent a confidential message and disregarded all the kings. her confidential message was for Krishna. And she considered herself unsuited for all those other kings. So she asked a Brahmin to be the carrier of the message, the confidential message. And this was all because, Krishna says, this was all because, Rukmini, you heard some truth about me, some authentic accounts of me from Narada Muni. And you fell in love with me just by hearing about me. So this is something unique. Another unique glory of Rukmini. And Krishna is going to describe in the next few verses this same point about Rukmini's unique devotion and some other points about her emotions. Let's go to text 56. We're going to read to the end of the chapter. So we're reading 4 more verses. 4 verses. Is 56 there? It's on the screen, 56. Okay, let's repeat. Bhartu Virupakaranam Yudi Nijatasya Prodvaha Parvani Cha Tadvadham Akshakoshtyam Dukam Samutam Asaho Smara Yoga Vidya Naiva Brabhi Kim Api Tena Vayam Jitas Te. Synonyms. The synonyms, please. Bratu, of your brother. Virupakaranam, the disfigurement. Yudi, in battle. Nijitasya, who was defeated. Prodvaha, of the marriage ceremony of Rukmini's grandson, Aniruddha. Parvani, on the appointed day, Cha, and Tat, his, Vadam, killing, Akshagostyam, during a gambling match. Dukam, sorrow. Samutam, fully experienced. Asaha, intolerable. Asmat, from us. Ayoga, of separation. Itya, out of fear. Not. Eva, indeed. Ravi, did you speak? Kim api, anything. Tena, by that. Vayam, we. Jeta, conquered. Te, by you. When your brother, who had been defeated in battle and then disfigured, was later killed during a gambling match on Aniruddha's wedding day. You felt unbearable grief. Yet, out of fear of losing me, you spoke not a word. By this silence you have conquered me. There's a small purport. The purport reads like this. Here Lord Krishna refers to an event that will be described in the next chapter. Thus, Krishna's talks with Rukmini must have taken place after the marriage of Aniruddha. So there's some literary device here. Sukadeva Goswami is setting up for the next chapter. He's getting the audience, his audience is Parikshit Maharaj, he's getting him warmed up for hearing about Aniruddha's wedding and the killing of Rukmi. For some reason, this chapter comes first, the chapter called Krishna Teases Rukmini. But here at the end, the next chapter is indicated. This wedding of Aniruddha took place at Rukmi's palace, the brother of Rukmini, at his palace, because Rukmi wanted to please Rukmini, so he presented his granddaughter to Aniruddha as a wife. And before that, about 20 years before that, again, Rukmi wanted to please his sister Rukmini, so he presented his daughter to Pradyumna as a wife. So Rukmi's palace has been the scene of the marriage of Pradyumna. Now it's the scene of the marriage of Aniruddha. And what happens? It's described in the next chapter. At the wedding, Lord Baladev and the other Yadavas went to Rukmi's palace in the city of Bojakata, and after the wedding, Rukmi challenged Lord Baladev to a game of dice, and in the first match, Rukmi defeated Baladev. Lord Baladev won the next match, but Rukmi refused to concede defeat. A voice then spoke from the sky, announcing that Baladev in fact had won. But Rukmi was encouraged by the wicked kings, offended Lord Baladev by saying that he knew nothing about playing dice, although he was certainly expert at tending cows. Thus insulted, Lord Baladev angrily struck Rukmi dead with his club. The other kings tried to flee, and Balaram attacked them and wounded their arms and thighs and heads, and they fled in all directions, bleeding. Sri Krishna expressed neither approval nor disapproval of Rukmi's death, because he didn't want to jeopardize his loving ties with Rukmini or Baladev. If he had expressed approval of Rukmini's death, Rukmini would have been more intolerably sorrowful. And if he had expressed disapproval of Rukmini's death, then Balaram would have been disappointed. So he didn't say anything. And here in this verse he says to Rukmini, you felt unbearable grief, intolerable grief. But you did not show this sorrow. She showed it only a little bit. She showed for the sake of the public, for the public's sake. She showed some sadness that Rukmini had died. But she didn't show her deeper sorrow. And she didn't say to Krishna and Balaram, you should not have done that. You should not have killed my brother. She didn't say that. She didn't say a word. And Krishna says, by this silence, you have conquered me. Silence is called mona, right? When you observe, sometimes you observe a vow of silence. I won't speak. So Rukmini was demonstrating self-control, not speaking. And Krishna understood that she was doing so because she didn't want to displease Krishna or Balaram. And he says, you've conquered me by this silence. Now we'll go on to text 57. Here in 57, the first word is dutas. This is the messenger. Krishna is referring back to the Brahmin who carried the message to him. Duta means messenger. You know that word you hear that word in the name of the ship, Jaladuta. Did you know that the Sandhya shipping company named some of their ships Duta, Jaladuta? There was another Duta. They had a few ships named Duta because as a big international business, they were thinking that they're sending the message of India across the sea on the water. They were spreading the products that were produced in India around the world. So they had to have some kind of slogan to show that they were an international company. And so they named their ships Messenger on the Water, Messenger of this, Messenger of that. You know, Srimati Morarji lived nearby. And Prabhupada came to Bombay and met her and got her finally. At first she didn't want to agree to let Prabhupada go on the ship. She just felt in her heart that she couldn't do it because she was afraid Srila Prabhupada would die, or he would die in America in the cold weather. But finally Prabhupada was able to persuade her because Sri Krishna Chaitanya had a message. And that message had to be carried on the water to the other countries. So Lord Chaitanya sent a message to us, to all of us, through Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. So messages are important. Rukmini's message, this verse is 57, is about Rukmini's message. I'll just read the translation. You can go to the translation. When the messenger with your most confidential, when you sent the messenger with your most confidential plan, and yet I delayed going to you, you began to see the whole world as void and wanted to quit your body. I'm sure you recognize that kind of emotion. Lord Chaitanya expresses that kind of emotion in the Sikshastakam, that to me the whole world seems void in the absence of Krishna. He's expressing the mood of Srimati Radharani, who is separated from Krishna in Vrindavan. So Srimati Rukmini Devi also had this mood. You began to see the whole world as void, and you wanted to quit your body, which could never have been given to anyone but me. May this greatness of yours remain with you always. I can do nothing to reciprocate except joyfully thank you for your devotion. Purport. Srimati Rukmini Devi had no intention whatsoever of accepting any other husband but Lord Krishna. As she stated in her message to the Lord, Bhagavatam 10:52, 43. Yarhiyam buchaksha nalabhyeya bhavat prasadam jayam asun vrata krishna sata janma vishyat. If I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall simply give up my vital force, which will become weak from the severe penances I will perform. Then, after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. The Srimad Bhagavatam firmly establishes the unique glories of Queen Rukmini Devi. Here Krishna mentions that the message by you, Rukmini, for obtaining me contained very confidential advice. Srimati Rukmini told Krishna, I'll be in the temple. And when I'm in the temple, you should prepare to kidnap me. She arranged the rendezvous, the time, the place. Very confidential plan. So Krishna notes how much she was willing to perform austerity. She was even willing to live another 100 lives to obtain Krishna's mercy. When we think of our future, are we planning like that? I'll be ready in 100 lives. I'm prepared to live 100 more lives. Who thinks like that? Srimati Rukmini, she's such a unique devotee. Okay, let's read the next verse. There's just 2 verses left. 58. Shukadeva is speaking. He said, Shukadeva Goswami said, and so the self-satisfied Supreme Lord of the universe enjoyed with the goddess of fortune, engaging her in lovers' talks, and thus imitating the ways of human society. Purport. The word vidambayan means imitating and also ridiculing. The Lord acted like a husband of this world but his pastimes are transcendental and expose the perverted nature of mundane activities aimed at bodily sense gratification. So this purport is actually reflecting the commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And the last verse, text 59. Tatanyasham api vibho griheshu grihavaniva astito griham mediyan dharman loka guru Hare. The Almighty Lord Hare, preceptor of all the worlds, similarly behaved like a conventional householder in the palaces of his other queens, performing the religious duties of a family man. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 60th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna Teases Queen Rukmini. I had a few thoughts about Rukmini's resolute discernment. She thought, only Krishna can be my husband, no other king. And I was thinking, how can we apply this to ourselves? Try to do some application of the Shastra to our own lives. This reminded me of a staunch godbrother of mine who actually got married here in Bombay. He was serving as a brahmachari in Bombay in the late 1970s, early 80s, on Anuttama, and he married a woman from, I think, Bali. They had their marriage here, and they had children. Now their children have gotten married. They have grandchildren. He's really a nice householder, and by his good karma, he became wealthy. He dealt in automobiles. He fixed up old automobiles and resold them. He fixed up houses and resold the houses. He's now a millionaire, I think. And the important thing is that he has never broken his vow to Srila Prabhupada. He said this once in a discussion among godbrothers. He said, I can say that I have never broken my vow. So this is like Srimati Rukmini's determination. I will not accept anyone but Krishna. I will not do anything my spiritual master told me not to do. So In Bhagavad-gita, we find this described in the second chapter, text 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekehikuru nandana bahu shakahi anantascha buddhayo vyavisayanam. A particular kind of intelligence or buddhi. Buddhi is described. This kind of intelligence is resolute in nature, very determined. Therefore, it's described as one-pointed or singular. There's one purpose only, compared to the Bahushaka, the intelligence that has many branches. Bahushaka, many branched intelligence. We all know, we all have experience of our minds, how our minds will go all over the place. Our minds will consider unlimited subjects. And the intelligence, the mind tries to bring the intelligence into its service. Think of this, think of this, think of that, think of this. So the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. You can't be single-minded. You can't be resolute in nature. Prabhupada explains this in the purport. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. That knowledge is Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatmasya Durlabha. This means that the person in Krishna consciousness is a rare, good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the branches and the leaves. So, by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely oneself, family, society, country, humanity, and so on. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. I have to tell you that this is the first verse that I heard a lecture on when I went to a Hare Krishna temple for the first time to hear a class on Sunday. The speaker spoke about this verse, watering the root of the tree will satisfy all the branches and leaves, and similarly serving the root of all existence, finding Lord Vishnu, the root of all existence, and satisfying Lord Vishnu will satisfy everyone, your family, your society, your country. For me, this was so important. I got so much understanding, so much direction in life. I was about 21 when I heard this, and I was naturally thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I had finished college, I had a bachelor's degree, but I didn't want to go to graduate school. I was tired of university life. So I was wondering, what can I possibly do? How can I work? How can I accomplish my purposes? I had some ideals. I also had some habits and bad habits, and I was very confused. So this verse helped direct me to Lord Vishnu and allowed me to see that Lord Vishnu is present within the universe as the root of everything. And that if I serve the root of everything, Lord Vishnu, then I can satisfy everyone. So this knowledge, Prabhupada says, the resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on this knowledge that Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurabha. Vasudeva Krishna is the root of all manifest causes. What does that mean? This is discussed in 3 other places in the Bhagavatam. In the 10th canto, in Lord Krishna's discussions with Uddhava, Uddhava learns about this knowledge from Krishna. Then he goes to Krishna's parents, Nanda and Yashoda. And they are feeling Krishna's separation in Vrindavan. So he says to them, nothing can be said to exist independent of Lord Krishna. Now think about this. Nothing can be said to exist independent of Lord Krishna. Nothing that we hear, nothing that we see can be said to be independent of Krishna. Nothing in the past, nothing in the present, nothing in the future can be said to be independent of Krishna. Nothing moving, nothing not moving, unmoving, can be independent of Krishna. Nothing great, nothing small can be said to be independent of Krishna. Nothing can be said to exist independent of Krishna. And Rukmini also said this. She said to Krishna, there is nothing beyond you. There's nothing beyond you. Krishna had said that people criticized him because he possesses nothing. He doesn't have proper possessions. And Rukmini said, yes, that's true, you possess nothing. Because there's nothing beyond you. In other words, there's nothing that Krishna doesn't possess. So, besides those 2 mentions by Uddhava and Rukmini, that there's nothing independent of Krishna, the 3rd statement like this is offered by the 2 personalities, the sons of Kuvera, when they appeared from the twin Arjun trees. The trees fell, Krishna pulled the trees down, and these personalities came out of the trees. They were demigods, and they offered prayers to Krishna. So I'm going to read a few sentences of their prayers. Lord Krishna, your opulent mysticism is inconceivable. You are the supreme, original person, the cause of all causes, and you're beyond this creation. Therefore, learned Brahmins know that you are everything on the basis, they know this on the basis of the Vedic statement. Sarvam kala vidam brahma, sarvam kala vidam brahma. They know that this gross world, this cosmic manifestation, both in its gross and subtle forms. This manifestation has subtle forms also, the mind, the intelligence, and so on, the ego. They know that this manifestation in its gross and subtle aspects is your form. That's what the sons of Kubera said to Krishna. They know this is your form. Krishna has a universal form. You're the controller of everything. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now listen to this. I think this is the main interesting point. The body, the life, the ego, and the senses of every living entity are your own self. Let's say it again, but in a slightly different way. Our body, our life, our ego and senses are Krishna's own self. We always try to say, when we teach Krishna consciousness, you should not think of yourself as God. You're not God. But what are the sons of Kuvera saying? Your body, your life, your ego, and your senses are Krishna's own self. That doesn't mean that you're Krishna. But it means that what you think is yours, your body, your life, your senses, and your ego, are actually Krishna's own self. Nothing is independent of Krishna. Nothing exists independently of Krishna. He's the time factor. He's the cause of things. He's material nature, consisting of the modes of passion, goodness, and ignorance. And he's the super soul, and therefore he's aware of everything because he's in the core of everyone's heart. He knows everyone's heart. So we've been talking about this because this knowledge that Vasudeva is everything is the basis of resolute determination. If I know that Krishna is everything, then my determination can become one-pointed and resolute. I'm a servant of Krishna. And Krishna is everything. I can see Krishna in everything. Then we can become like Srimati Rukmini, who was very resolute and determined not to marry anyone but Krishna. We can also attain that kind of devotion. I will not, only Krishna. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I'll stop there then. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.